Man, there's a lot of speculation about next year, who's going to stay, who's going to go. Should Kwesi Adofo-Mensah be on the hot seat for all of his missed draft picks? Will he be back next year? Is J.J. McCarthy the guy? Some people want him gone now. Some people want him benched now. Some people, like myself, are willing to give him to the end of the year to see what he's got and then make an assessment. But if J.J. McCarthy is not the guy, what's next for the Minnesota Vikings at the quarterback position? Hey, yo, we going to talk about it next on the UP.
I don't know who I am. Can I say?
Powered by Riverside FM.
Man, things are getting hot around the Minnesota Vikings and the Minnesota Vikings facility. I've been looking at all the social media stuff. I've been looking at who's talking what the talking points are for the Minnesota Vikings. I mean, there's a lot of different areas that you can hit on, UP Nation. But the two main things that I want to talk about, because I think they're probably the two biggest things in terms of what can give the Minnesota Vikings progress going forward and what can hinder the Minnesota Vikings for next year. So I just got a lot of different things that I want to bring up, a lot of different things that I want to talk about. Put them in the comments. Put your thoughts and ideas in the comments. If you agree with me, you agree with me. If you don't, you don't. You know I'm always going to bite back. You know I'm always going to answer the comments, man. I'm not scared. I'll always answer the comments. The first thing I want to talk about is this Kwesi Adofo-Mensah, man. Kwesi Adofo-Mensah, I'm hearing everywhere that Kwesi is on the hot seat. Should he be on the hot seat, UP Nation? Purple Gang, Skull Nation? I was one of the ones when Kwesi Adofo-Mensah didn't have his contract. I was like, give the guy the extension, because this was off of arguably the best free agency class that the Minnesota Vikings had ever seen the year before. When we talk about Grenard, Van Ginkel, Blake Cashman, so on and so forth, Sam Darnold. I mean, it was a great free agency class. And on paper, when you brought this free agency class in there this year, I'm like, man, this guy has brought in back-to-back free agency class. And that kind of gave me, in terms of Kwesi Adofo-Mensah and his extension, it gave him a little bit of a buffer, man. Even though his draft picks back in 2022, that whole draft class is primarily washed out. But I thought the free agency class gave him a little bit of a buffer. Now, I know you can't build a franchise with free agency, man. That is just stupidity. But you can fill some gaps. And I thought Kwesi Adofo-Mensah had did that. But now that I dive into it, man, and I look into it, and I see what people are talking about, and I look at the free agency class that he brought in this offseason, not that they're terrible, but they are not, I think it's safe to say, that they are not what we expected. UP Nation, Skull Nation, Purple Gang. Is it what you expected? I would love to hear people that are really happy with this free agency class this year, just to get their perspective, because I know the majority of the Minnesota Vikings fan base is not necessarily over the moon with this free agency class. I haven't really heard anybody that says that the free agency class is terrible, but I think that our expectations was a little bit higher for this free agency class. Let's look back at Kwesi Adofo-Mensah and his draft picks. In 2022, this was the draft. First round pick, Lewis Seen. Second round pick, Andrew Booth Jr., the cornerback. Another second round pick, Ed Ingram. Third round pick, Brian Asamoah. Fourth round pick, Caleb Evans. Fifth round pick, Ezi Otomowu. Fifth round pick, Ty Chandler. Sixth round pick, Badarian Lowe. Another sixth round pick, Jalen Naylor. Keep in mind, Jalen Naylor is up for a contract extension after this year. I don't see the Minnesota Vikings re-signing him because they got to pay Addison. They've already paid Jets. I don't see them paying three wide receivers heavy money to be in that room. And then they had a seventh round pick, Nick Muse. Now that whole draft class, as I've said in some videos in the past, is going to be nil. It's going to be wiped out. The only guy that is there is Jalen Naylor, and he's going to be gone next year. So now, in the span of 3 years, your 2022 draft class pretty much is gone. To me, that is egregious. That is egregious. That is a black stain on the resume of Kwesi Adofo-Mensah. Let me go forward. Then the second draft class, you got Jordan Mason. And arguably, that is the one draft pick out of all of them so far that Kwesi Adofo-Mensah has hit on. Jordan Mason. Then you got your third round pick in Mekhi Blackman, your fourth round pick in Jay Ward, fifth round pick in Jaquelin Roy, and then your other fifth round pick in Jaron Hall. Your only guy that you hit on in that draft pick, UP Nation, Jordan Mason. Mekhi Blackman is doing work for the Colts. We just let him go this past season. He really hasn't hit on much. In the first two draft classes, you with me, UP Nation? You with me? Now the draft class this year, J.J. McCarthy, who the verdict is still out on, Dallas Turner, who has shown some signs, but the verdict is still out on him too. Kyrie Jackson, unfortunately, passed away. May he rest in peace. And then you got your sixth round pick, Walter Rouse. Now, in this last draft, Donovan Jackson, our left guard, is really showing problems. And he's showing problems for other teams, is what I'm saying. And then he's progressing into a really, really good left guard. So I count that one as a hit. Jordan Addison, Donovan Jackson, in this past year's draft, I count that as a hit. That's about it, UP Nation. Out of the first four drafts, I know there's a lot of verdicts out of guys that have been recently drafted that we just need to see a little bit more of, a.k.a. J.J. McCarthy, a.k.a. Dallas Turner. Those may be hits as well. But right now, there's only the two, Donovan Jackson and Jordan Addison. Is that good enough, UP Nation? Is that good enough for you, Purple Gang? When you see the body of work that Kwesi Adofo-Mensah has put forth so far, is it good enough for you? The reason why I ask is because we've got 10 picks, 10. If we don't trade anything, we don't make any deals, coming up to the draft, we've got 10 picks. Do you let Kwesi Adofo-Mensah run the draft? I think he has a body of work. See, I've been on here spitting, talking about we haven't given J.J. McCarthy enough time. It's only been 5 games. I think it's ridiculous to call J.J. McCarthy a bust after 5 games. Kwesi Adofo-Mensah has enough body of work where we can make an assessment, at least on his drafts and how successful he drafts. Now, people have talked about, or maybe it's the scouting department. It could be. Maybe it's the information that he's getting. It could be. Maybe there's too many cooks in the kitchen. That could be. But when you wrap it up in a nice, neat bow, UP Nation, when you wrap it up in a nice, neat bow, the guy that is at the forefront of acquiring talent for this team is Kwesi Adofo-Mensah. So it really doesn't matter where he's getting his information from. He is in charge. And here's the thing where the red flag goes up even more is that he's not a football guy. He is a Wall Street guy. He's a guy that relies on analytics, and it's not working. There is so much of a body of work to show you, UP Nation, it's not working. So now we've acquired a lot of draft picks, and our franchise is at a crossroad. The free agency class that we just brought in, it's not that good. It's not as good as we thought. We don't have the depth that we need when we have all these injuries and guys aren't working out. We don't have the depth that we need. Now, the one place that he has excelled is the undrafted free agency class, but you damn sure can't build a franchise with that. In itself, that's a gamble, right? UP Nation, Purple Gang, Skull Nation, like you can't rely on undrafted free agents. He's excelled there. I give him a lot of credit there. But in terms of the draft, do we trust him to go into next year's draft when we're at this crossroad where we still have J.J. McCarthy under a rookie contract, but we don't know right now where and how J.J. McCarthy is going to look next year. Now, I've been on board saying I believe in the kid, but just because I believe in the kid, that doesn't make it so. So now we've got to try to fill out our team and build our team. Kwesi Adofo-Mensah has shown a propensity to miss. We can't let him handle the next draft, can we? Can the Wilfs sit down in their office when they do their end of the year evaluation of where our franchise is? Look at Kwesi Adofo-Mensah and say, hey, man, we want you to handle the next draft where we have 10 draft picks. And he's hitting at about a 12 to 14% rate, UP Nation. 12 to 14%. So if you do the math, you've got 10 draft picks. Let's say you keep all those. Man, one of those draft picks are going to work out, and the other 9 probably will not. So it's paramount that I don't think that we can let Kwesi Adofo-Mensah handle this draft. We can't. We can't do that, UP Nation. We can't do it. We can't let him handle this draft. There's got to be some change in the infrastructure and how this team handles the NFL draft. We can't continue to miss at this rate. We can't. 12 to 14% is unacceptable. And one of your draft classes, the 2022 draft class, is completely and utterly a failure. It's wiped out after Jalen Naylor takes the money next year and goes somewhere else. It is absolutely wiped out. So that's something that must change going into next year and going into the future, man. We've gotta reconstruct how we evaluate and draft our players because something is amiss. Something is amiss. What did remember when Cat Williams was on Shannon Sharp's podcast? What did he say about Puff Daddy? He said Puff Daddy be wanting to party and you got to tell him no. You got to tell him no. Well, Kwesi Adofo-Mensah wants to draft and you got to tell him no. You got to tell him no. That's paramount for the Minnesota Vikings. Then on social media, I'm looking at all the J.J. McCarthy stuff, man, and we've talked about it. I've been on board with J.J. McCarthy. I'm not jumping off the board. I like his intangibles. He has been hot trash pretty much the whole year, but he's shown some signs, and I just like the kid's makeup. If KOC is the quarterback whisperer and can develop quarterbacks, I just like the makeup of what J.J. McCarthy brings to the table. Keep in mind, he hasn't had accuracy problems since he came to the Minnesota Vikings. Now, the big term is he's not accurate, and he hasn't been. Don't get me wrong. Like, I'm not advocating right now that he's been out there and he's being accurate. When people say J.J. McCarthy has been awful, J.J. McCarthy has pretty much been awful. He has had his moments, but pretty much he has been awful. Now, here's the $1 million question, because I think people react out of emotion, and I've done that sometimes. I see people saying he's a bust, he should be cut, he should be traded, we should get rid of him. Okay, let's say hypothetically that J.J. McCarthy is not the guy. Let's say that I'm wrong. And a lot of other people out there that believe in this kid, let's say that they're wrong. J.J. McCarthy does not work out for this franchise, and at the end of the year, we have to make a change. Well, put it in the comments, UP Nation, Purple Gang, Skull Nation. Those of you that feel like J.J. McCarthy is not the guy, what's next? Where do you go for a quarterback? Like, good quarterbacks aren't just hanging up on trees where you could just pick one off. Like, give me some quarterbacks out there. Who would you target? Would you bring back Kirk Cousins? Like, who would you go out there and get? The names that are being bountied around really doesn't impress me a whole lot. Would you rather have one of these guys that have kind of shown you that they're not what their franchises thought they were either, and bring them in? And I know in rare cases you have the Daniel Joneses of the world, you have the Sam Darnolds of the world that are doing great things elsewhere, and I know it's about fit, but are you really interested in a guy like Kyler Murray? Because I'm just throwing out names that are out there that the Minnesota Vikings could likely require. I think people, they really don't think about that. They just want the problem gone. They see the problem, they get caught up in the emotions, and they just want the problem gone. So my question is, if not J.J. McCarthy, then who? Who? Kyler Murray? Is that the fix-it? Is that the guy that's going to lead us to the Super Bowl, UP Nation? Tua Tagovailoa? He's one concussion away from being out of the league. Is that who we want on this team? Tua? Bryce Young for the Panthers? Bryce Young has shown flashes, but he sure as hell hasn't lived up to what everybody thought he was going to be out of Alabama with the Carolina Panthers. Do you want Bryce Young on this team? Man, I'm just throwing out options. UP Nation. I'm trying to figure out where people are going in terms of, hey, J.J. McCarthy is not the guy. Where do we go? Max Brosmer? Do you want Max Brosmer from the University of Minnesota? Is he the guy that can lead us to the Super Bowl? How about Justin Fields? I'm an Ohio State guy. You guys all know that, but Justin Fields has not lived up to what everybody thought he was going to be till we bring in Justin Fields over J.J. McCarthy. See, this is what I'm talking about in terms of being careful. See, I like the odds of J.J. McCarthy developing more than bringing these guys in. Russell Wilson's on his last leg. Jameis Winston. Do you bring in one of those guys? I'm trying to look around the league, and I'm talking about realistically who you can get next year to come in. I don't know. Brock Purdy? Yeah, people are talking about, well, Brock Purdy's in the quarterback battle right now. Do you bring in a guy like Brock Purdy? That's going to cost you a pretty penny against the cap because he just signed a mega deal with the San Francisco 49ers. So who is on your list? Put it in the comments, man. I'm interested. Show me what I'm missing. Because anybody that's any good, man, people aren't throwing away good quarterbacks. So I'm asking you, where do we go? People say draft a quarterback. Well, I just talked about Kwesi Adofo-Mensah. Do you trust him to draft our future franchise quarterback? He just drafted J.J. McCarthy. And the only way, hypothetically, that we're entertaining this is if J.J. McCarthy is not the guy, right? So you're going to trust Kwesi Adofo-Mensah to draft again? And if he drafts a quarterback, we're looking at J.J. McCarthy after 5 games. People are wanting to say that he's a bust and get rid of him already. Do we only draft a guy out of college that can come in and perform right away? What are the odds of that? Are we bringing in Arch Manning? See, this is the dilemma that the Minnesota Vikings are in. And this is why I say we need to invest in terms of time in my guy, J.J. McCarthy. There are no great options out there. If you were going to make a move in terms of quarterbacks other than J.J. McCarthy, we should have did it this past offseason. And we said no. We said no to that. We said no to the Aaron Rodgers, Sam Darnold, Daniel Jones. We said no to that. So there's damn sure not a quarterback out there in the future that can come in. It may look a little bit better. It may look better than what J.J. McCarthy is doing right now, but it's going to have the same result. We need to develop this kid. Now, I just had to get on here and talk about 2 things that I've been hearing. Kwesi on the hot seat. J.J. McCarthy needs to be out of here. It needs to be traded. Tell me what I'm missing, man. Tell me what I'm missing. I think Kwesi, at the end of the season, I don't know whether or not he should be fired. He has done a really good job in terms of the books and getting us under the cap and getting us a franchise quarterback with the rookie contract. You can't say that he hasn't been good in terms of bringing free agents in. I think this free agency class is underwhelming, but it's not terrible. And he's done a really good job with UDFAs. He's just been a terrible drafter. And that is the backbone and the foundation of your franchise. And you can see it in the depth that we have with the Minnesota Vikings, UP Nation, Purple Gang, Skull Nation. It is one of the most egregious resumes. When you put it all down on paper, it is one of the most egregious resumes that I have seen a GM have just when it comes to the draft. You just can't let Kwesi handle this draft, man. It's too important. It's too important for our front. We're at a fork in the road. Which way you going to go? Wilfs, which way you going to go, Purple Nation? You just can't have Kwesi handle this draft. And then for those of you that want to get rid of J.J. McCarthy, I'm just trying to figure out because it has to be a surefire bet. Do you want to keep going back to the patchwork quarterbacks that have great records during the season and flame out during the postseason? Like, I get it, man. It may be a funner season, but I'm trying to win the Super Bowl. So I'm banking on development more than patchwork. Who's out there that you want more so than J.J. McCarthy? I'm interested in hearing that side of things in the comments. So put them in the comments, man. Put them in the comments. This has been Unconventional Playbook. Please hit that like and subscribe button, man. Please continue to hit me with your comments. I know I've been going back and forth with a lot of people, so continue to put that stuff in the comments. And as always, UP Nation, I will see you when we see you. Who's your option at quarterback? And we just can't let Kwesi draft. Go!